Okay, I'm going to record a short video about what went down in the courthouse today, just because I'm too lazy to type up a big long report and I don't want to spend the next hour in front of my computer. So bear with me. I'll try and give you a rundown on what happened this afternoon. Just keep in mind that anything for legal definition or legal opinion, you should defer to Lisa. I'm not an attorney. This is just my personal observation of what I saw go down today. When we resumed after lunch at about 2:15. Michel Sabat, the attorney for the churches, wrapped up his argument that the expert witnesses for the complainants, Unibam and Caleb Roscoe, should be struck. Something about they didn't have proper permission from the court to include those people, and that the evidence was the expert witness affidavits were not properly filed. Shabat did agree that the Unibam expert witnesses are in fact experts. He didn't argue that they're not, and that but the affidavits that that the expert witnesses produced does not include anything that makes it clear that they understand that their responsibility as expert witnesses is to the court and not to the complainant or to the respondent. Shabat then said that the church wants to add 3 additional expert witnesses. One is a human rights expert, and 2 are public health doctors. I believe these are all people from outside Belize, either in the U.S. or the Caribbean. There was something about adding Philip Wright, but I didn't quite understand if it was to add him as an expert witness or to add him as an interested party. Then at about 2:45, Lisa began her presentation, and she was quite brilliant when she started by pointing out that everything that Mr. Shabat had just presented before the court should have been done by the Attorney General's attorney or ministry, because they are the respondent, that this interested parties had no business asking for witnesses to be struck or adding additional expert witnesses, but this is a case against the Attorney General, and that the Attorney General has not, in fact, asked for any of what Mr. Shabat had just presented before the court. She was also a little disappointed and expressed her disappointment that the terms of participation had been previously agreed to, and that it appears that the interested party, the church's attorneys, were violating the terms and conditions of that participation. She went on to address the idea that Unibam should be struck as a complainant by saying that she doesn't argue the fact that Unibam as an organization cannot have carnal intercourse, although she did somewhat scold her learned friends, as they refer to each other, for joking about this matter when they presented their argument to strike Unibam. But she cited the Maya Leaders case in Belize, which demonstrated quite clearly that people who belong to an organization that represents their interests in a constitutional matter, that the organization then becomes a person, and in fact is all persons from that organization. And she went on to present examples of how Unibam is the only organization representing men who have sex with men and LGBT Belizeans. And she also cited an example from a case in Bangladesh where another organization had represented thousands of Bangladeshi people in a civil suit. So she did an excellent job on that. Lisa said that she also made the point that, well, if they're going to strike out the expert witnesses for Unibam, the court should also be very generous on the local standing of the interested party from the churches or from the AG side. That basically, if they're going to strike out Unibam, then they should take a very generous look at whether or not the Council of Churches has local standing. Sorry, I'm just trying to read my my notes and my handwriting is quite terrible here. At one point, the attorney representing the Attorney General's ministry, Mr. Hawk, I believe is his name, got up and tried to do some damage control and say that no, in fact, that the Attorney General's ministry has not been asleep, but that he felt that this matter was still at a case management level, and that these applications that were being made were actually premature. Although he made one very, I think, important comment where he said that the AG's ministry is aligned with whatever the Council of Churches want to do. So it made it clear, I think, to the court that the Council of Churches, who are an interested party in this matter, are in fact in the driver's seat from the applicant side, or sorry, not the applicant, the respondent side. Lisa went on to ask that the expert witnesses for the Council of Churches should be struck out. In particular, that would be Harry Lawrence, Bishop Wright, and Pastor Eugene Crawford. She said that that their testimony, or their affidavits, basically are just religious theory and personal opinion, and should not be considered expert evidence. And she went into some detail about the affidavit presented by Harry Lawrence, saying that it was scandalous and devoid of actual fact, and that it came with no supporting evidence for what he claims. For instance, he was saying that the original application by Caleb and Unibam was clandestine and was done in secret and in the dark, and that he said that if any change in the law, this is according to Harry Lawrence, any change in the law would be a sign that it's okay to recruit gays. So she said it was scandalous, oppressive, and irrelevant, and she asked for that to be struck out. Sorry, so probably somebody from the same group texting me to find out what got on. On Crawford and Wright, Lisa said that it's similar to what she said about Harry, that it's personal opinion. It's not fact. It's just simply personal opinion. At the end of the day, the court can't. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. The court would not be aided by any of this so-called expert evidence. So. After Lisa's presentation, the lawyer for the Attorney General's ministry tried to do a little bit more damage control, and he said, "We're not allied, but we've adopted their position." I'm not sure what the distinction is on that, but and then Rodwell Williams tried to rebut Lisa's position that Unibam, in fact, does have rights to represent its members. And he was kind of stumbling and tap dancing around, and I'm not really sure what his point was in all of that. It was kind of surprising. It seemed to me that she kind of rattled him, rattled Shabat and Williams with her assertion that Unibam is in fact an interested person, not an interested person, sorry, is a claimant and has a right to be a claimant in this matter. But Williams said that Unibam should have come in as an interested party and not as a claimant. Then the last sort of juicy piece of information that came out, Michelle Shabat rose again and said that the affidavits of Bishop Wright, both Philip and Doric, and Pastor Crawford they're not expert witnesses, but they are interested parties. So he's gone on the record saying they're actually not expert witnesses. After that, Justice Arana said that she would deliberate and render her decision at a further date. So that's what happened today in court.